Hi there, this is Jacob Nash, and this is a review of Module 35, Solving Problems and Making Decisions. All right, so here are two common ways that we solve problems. Algorithm, heuristic. Okay, had to include that picture. Okay, so there's algorithms and heuristics. Algorithm is a method-like way of solving problems. This is slow and complex, but it's always successful. Heuristic is a simple way of solving problems. It's fast and simple, but not always successful. So let's say that there is a $100 bill in one of the lockers of your school. Not that many people really use lockers anymore anyways. But what would you do to find that money? Well, something that would definitely be successful is if you just literally went through every hallway and opened every single locker. But let's assume that you can just open it. You don't have to type in the code or turn the code or whatever. That's definitely going to be successful, but it's slow and complex. A heuristic would be using some other sort of strategy. Maybe you would ask someone like maybe some details, and they could say, I think it's probably close to the 690s. But that's not always going to be successful, okay? And there could be some other strategy, but it might not always be successful for heuristics. All right, what is insight? Insight is a all of a sudden or aha moment, as some people call it, of a solution. So in contrast to an algorithm or heuristic, so oh, I know, it must be by locker 731. What is confirmation bias? When one thing that supports what we want to be true, so we believe it instead of using the contradictory evidence. So basically, there's something that supports what we want to be true, and we just ignore everything that's not true. So I've been guilty of this before. I am trying to make a decision, and I know what I really want to do. So I just kind of ignore all the downsides of that. Like, for example, before I wanted to buy something, and I was thinking, man, I don't care. I just really want this. And then, but I was ignoring the fact of the downsides. Oh, the whatever. I don't need to get into the specifics. And but that's what confirmation bias is. We ignore anything that contradicts what we want to be true. All right. What is mental set and intuition? So mental set is approaching a problem with something that seems to have worked in the past. So, I should have included an example on here. Let me try to think of one. Oh, I included that picture. Maybe I don't remember what I was trying to say about that. Oh, so maybe whenever you lose something, you always look in your drawers. I know I always put that in the drawers. That's the case for me with something like there's something that I always lose, this little adapter thing that can connect my electric keyboard to things. I always lose it, and I always look in my drawers first. Search through there, because that's my mental set. That's what I just automatically do, because it may have worked in the past. Intuition is just our gut feeling. So that it's a completely separate thing. I just happen to include it on this. I mean, not completely separate, but I'm not saying that these two things are like so closely related or something. But intuition is just our gut feeling. So you're thinking, should I do this? And there's something that's telling you, no, you shouldn't do it. But not always is this a good thing to use. When we act on emotions, then we don't always get a very good result. If you do something when you're mad, like you just, for example, let's say there's something that goes wrong at your job, and you're just like, that's it, I quit, and you leave. Then a few days later, or the next day, you might say, might have not been such a good thing to do. And that's because you acted on an immediate or automatic feeling or emotions, which is not that good to do always. All right, let's talk about two types of heuristics. Representativeness, that's supposed to be on the end of that word. We judge the likelihood of something based on the characteristics of something given. So see this picture, early James. He's been used in a lot of the example questions. Is he more likely to be from the south or the north by what he's wearing? You might say the south because he has like a hat on, he has like kind of dressy clothes. Well, I guess people could have dress clothes from the north, but he just kind of has more of a southern look, right? That's a representative heuristic. We say, all right, just by that, I know that it's this. Another example is like, a person has glasses, wears a suit, and likes to read. Are they probably a truck driver, or are they probably a college professor? You would probably say college professor. That's because of your representative heuristic. Availability heuristic. We judge the likelihood of something based on memory or what we know. So this is just what's available to us. So let's say you heard Bob got in a plane crash on Tuesday. So then you're going to say, you might say, I'm never going on a plane again. So you just make some sort of judgment or decision just based on what's available to you in that moment. You might decide that planes are dangerous, when the truth is they're way safer than a car, actually. There are far more car crashes and car fatalities than plane fatalities. All right, overconfidence. So remember, this is when you're more confident than correct. So going back to this example that I used in the Module 4 video, let's say Anthony Kiedis says, I know he's not going to play a solo about John Frusciante, and then he plays a solo, he's like, blah, blah, blah. So more confident than correct. Belief perseverance. Still believing something even after it's discredited. So you see a chicken flying, and you're like, chickens can't fly. So sometimes we still stick to something even after it was struck down and we thought it wasn't true. Framing. So the way something is presented or worded can affect our decisions. So this isn't the best example, but let's say that there's a billboard trying to inspire you to go to a national park. Essentially, both these two things are really the same thing as what would happen if you go there from different viewpoints. But what one would make someone want to go to it more? Go enjoy the fresh air. Go infect the sacred land. Maybe go enjoy the fresh air. Maybe you are infecting a sacred land, but framing or wording, that's not a very good example. Here's a better example. So let's say that you have something at there's two brands of milk that have the same exact composition. One of them says 25% fat, and then the other one says 75% non-fat. That's the same thing, but people aren't, and people might even be able to tell that, but they're more enticed to buy the one that says 75% non-fat because 75 is a big number, and that's all non-fat. So there you go, that's framing. All right, visual agnosia. So this is also can be considered fixation, but this is the idea that we don't realize that an object may serve multiple purposes. So a butter knife might just seem like a butter knife to someone, but to someone else, they might know, man, I could use that to pick open a lock. All right, let's look at some questions. A methodical or logical rule or procedure that guarantees solving a problem. So guarantees, that's the key word. That's an algorithm. Purple, simulation theory. A tendency to search for information that supports our preconceptions, but it ignores contradictory evidence. That's called confirmation bias. Using mental shortcuts to solve problems. That's called heuristics. That's a shortcut, remember? Not always does it guarantee. So it's kind of like the opposite of number one. What would a cognitive psychologist research in relationship to children? That kind of forget about this question, except for the answer that's worded incorrectly. But a cognitive psychologist may look at a child's ability to problem solve as with algorithms versus heuristics. Number 5. What is the failure to recognize that an object can serve different purposes? That can be considered visual agnosia or fixation. And a credit card can also be used to pick up an lock. What type of heuristic allows a person to solve a problem by thinking readily of what comes to mind? So, availability heuristic. Just like, should I ride on this plane? Oh, Joe got in a crash on Tuesday, so no. The way that something is worded, that's called framing. And what heuristic uses a prototype that's representative in this heuristic? Because remember, what do we think of, like, if early James has a hat on, let's just pretend like there was words instead of a picture of him. It says, a man has a hat on, he's got overalls on, that's usually what he wears. Is he from the south or north? Well, just by that, that's the prototype that of what a southern person might look like, in your opinion. So there you go. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.